Good morning. This is TCR, TroyCommunityRadio.com. I'm Clint Myers on 107.1 WTJN. Our Saturday morning programming is brought to you by Outlook Financial. And time now for the Mayor's Report. And with us this morning, Mayor Michael Beamish.
On a Saturday.
Farmers market going on.
That's right, Clint.
Down on Cherry Street right now.
Boy, we'd start with talking about that. The farmers market is still growing. Even though the crops may not be growing as fast as we want this summer season, but the farmers market is still there, and it's on Cherry Street. It's during the morning on Saturdays, and certainly you encourage everybody, just if for any reason, to see what's down there and to fellowship with your fellow neighbors, and it's a kind of a fun time to be down there. And while you're down there, how about taking a walk around town? What do you see downtown?
Well, I'll tell you what, the sculptures on the square. I was working down here at the studios over the 4th of July holiday weekend. I could not believe how many people were roaming the streets looking at the sculptures.
It's amazing the foot traffic that we see downtown, and boy, isn't it a beautiful downtown? I know I talk about that all the time, but we need to give thanks to our many volunteers and our beautification committee and our city workers, and you can just park department. Everybody comes together to make our downtown one of those beautiful places to be. And if you're walking around, not only do you see that beauty, but then with the Seward Johnson statues all dotted around the downtown area, it's a nice walkable.
I want to point out, I can't wait till the work starts on the Saddleman building. I've seen the preliminary sketches, and beautiful.
And I'll tell you, Jess did a wonderful job of doing the historical perspective of that, going back in time. So what we'll see is not only a beautiful building, but a historic perspective as well, which just adds in the ambiance of the downtown. I'll tell you, I've had people come from all around, not just from Troy, but from all around, and just talk about how blessed we are as an outsider looking in of this community.
Boy, we are. Something I'm glad that our forefathers here in Troy took into consideration, and that was when they designed the downtown. It's already so wide in the streets.
It is, and
some of the other, you go through some other downtowns of approximate size of ours, and their streets aren't as wide through the downtown.
And yet we're still concerned about traffic and,
yes,
and pedestrian walkable places, and also so we've done some studies and we've done some improvements to actually so we can move people around downtown safely.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I think the traffic moves great, and it's great for getting people in and out. And I really appreciate how the new parking has worked out downtown.
And thank you. And that's been because we listened to a lot of different views. You know, not everybody's view got 100%, but we did try to do some things to enhance the parking areas of the downtown for different time zones.
And I also like that the lots are free to park in now.
And they're used.
Yes. Oh, yes, they are. They're almost always full.
That's good.
So
we're still moving forward. We're still looking at all those parking issues for the future as our town may continue to grow, hopefully slowly, but grow. We have to consider improvements for the future.
Well, most certainly we do. Thinking of improvements for the future, I've heard this little conversation that you've been having that started some talk here in town, and you've even had some multi-level board meetings going on at the same time, park board and whatnot, talking about Duke Park.
Thank you. It's an initiative. It's something, I'm in my last 6 months of my term and tenure as mayor of Troy, but that doesn't mean that I don't try to think ahead with some kind of a vision for the future. And I look at Duke Park. I look at the beauty and the diversity at that park, and I keep saying we got places we can continue to work on and grow for the young people and for the families. I'm going to be key on the youth, Now, you know, I've always been a person for having recreation for all ages. And I think we've done a good job. Pickleball is a good example at Duke Park for the seniors. But beyond that, we've had the mountain bike trail. We've added at Duke Park. So with the look of summer this year, with the flooding that we've had, with the heat and humidity that we've had, always looking and listening to surveys of what young people say, what they want. I thought we had this nice park, Duke Park, that we can consider an initiative. And let's face it, there's no secret that I have a passion and a love for recreation as a priority in our community. I believe in that. I think culture is equally as important as well as safety. But those are the things that I've always tried to work hard for. And that, again, is for families, for the youth, for people of all ages.
I think anything that we could do that would draw the kids away from the video games and get them back outdoors, I see that as nothing more than a plus.
I agree, and even for our pets, we have
Yep.
the dog park, and so we have areas in Duke Park area that we can expand, and this is why I drafted an initiative, and I have had some positive support. We did have a meeting this past week asking for a recommendation from the park board, the recreation board, and the assigned subcommittee is Parks and Recreation, their feelings on moving forward. Now, there's a lot of things that have to be done before we can actually implement some kind of a program. One that I think we've learned a lesson that we can't make it too encompassing. We have to focus it. So it's for Duke Park only. I'll say that. We're trying to look at the area that we have in Duke Park.
And the extra land is there.
And the extra land is there. And we want to look at the cost of how that project, and so we've kind of set a limit of, we think, around $12 million for the entire project to take place. Now, can we fund some of that? Yes. And I've asked our auditor, John Frigge, who is very good at finances, to look at our reserves. What can we afford? And still maintain our high bond rating. You know, we have one of the highest bond ratings, allows us to get loans and bonds at a low interest rate, and I didn't want to jeopardize that. But also, I want to buy in. I want people to support the project. And
right.
So one of the things is we had to look at the whole funding scheme of things. And I think we came up with a fair plan that we think we could use some of our reserves, we can bond out some, and then we're going to ask our citizens to support the program with a modest, about 67% of the program, or 2/3 of the program will be funded within. But with, again, taxpayer dollars, but using that money wisely, and then asking our voters to help support the program as well. Now, when I say buy-in, there's a lot of buy-ins involved. To be successful, we got to look at what we're trying to accomplish. And obviously, with the flooding at New Sports Complex, and the loss of games that young people have had would have had an opportunity to play,
right.
We have to consider that. We do have, as you said, Clint, the land available to put at least a 5-field pod and a t-ball field, and to help give them some more opportunities for play during the spring and summer season. So that's one thing. So we have to have the buy-in of our Troy Junior Baseball folks, the association, and their participants, or the parents that have their kids playing. And then we also want to add soccer fields. We know soccer is probably the most active sport that we have in Troy in terms of participation.
Well, you look at the Strawberry Festival when they do the tournaments, and they're using fields up in Pickwood. They're utilizing fields all over. That is how popular it is, because what we have here in Troy are all used up.
So we do need the soccer parents to get behind this project for the very reason that you gave. It does have an economic impact down the road. If you can have baseball tournaments, if you can have soccer tournaments, and we do have one of the premier regional soccer tournaments in the Troy Strawberry Festival. So that's a good example you gave. But those fields take wear and tear, and if we can add where we don't have to go out and about to have tournament play, that's good. Duke Park's a great place where we can do that.
I'd
So
like
that
to
was it.
I'd like to see the number of what everyone has repeatedly chipped in down at Nuke Fields now, where the ball fields are. How much money has been spent to get those back up and usable
Well,
after the flooding? And when you think about that always going in over at Duke Park, that would not be happening.
it'll be up higher.
That's right.
And I got to give a big shout out to the volunteers of Junior Baseball
Yeah.
Board. I was on that way back when, but I know how hard they work, and I know when they see that flood, it just saddens them. But they work hard to get those fields as quickly back in play as they can. However, I think they're pretty enthusiastic. At least that's what we heard about the opportunity of having additional fields at the Duke Park complex to help offset. So we do need buy-in. We need buy-in from the Troy Junior Baseball Organization. We need buy-in from the Troy Soccer Parents Association. Our survey results big. This is jumping out, especially with the heat and humidity, a splash pad. Where can you put a splash pad? Well, we have areas in Duke Park that might be while kids are playing soccer or baseball, the younger kids.
Someplace they could go cool off real quick, and the little ones just to be able to, just what it says, be able to go over and splash.
And one of the things that I've heard from a lot of young people is we don't have enough to do. Well, you ask them that, and mini golf always surfaces.
Hey,
So
I'll tell you what.
there's another possibility.
I'm a mini golf pro.
So there you go, Clint. I'll
That-
see you out there, and we'll have fun.
I can't play the whole 18 rounds at the grown-up golf course, but you put me on a putt-putt course, and I'll take it down.
But we all those are organizations and stakeholders that have an interest in how we can enhance Duke Park for the betterment of youth and families. But it's going to take a commitment, a total commitment, and that's why the rec board met and said we're behind this. The park board met and said we're behind this. The subcommittee of Parks and Recreation on City Council said 3-0, we're behind this. Now it'll move to council, full council for discussion, and hopefully the decision is to ask our citizens to support the initiative at Duke Park with it would be a 1.2 mil, about $40 a year for a $100,000 home.
Yeah.
If you kind of think of it in those terms. And again, it's for the young people in our community and their future and the activities that can be at Duke Park that cover families.
Now,
So-
I don't have any kids, but $40 to me seems extremely affordable to do this for the kids of the town.
Well, you see on television, they always talk pennies a day.
Yeah.
Well, it really is
It
pennies
is.
a day over a year now, and we're even going to sunset that. We know what we need, and we don't want to ask people to pay more than
Right.
we're asking them to support. And so we've gone to a 10-year sunset.
So once those needs are met, it falls off.
Correct. So, and then it's up to our staff. Actually, remember, I think earlier I said I only have 6 months more in my tenure. So the group that's going to have to take this ball and run with it is going to be the council. It's going to be the new administration. And it's going to take the stakeholders, meaning citizens and organizations that will support the project and move it to the future. So that's yet to be determined, but I will say I know we'll have the staff. There's some other things that are going to help. First of all, we can consolidate our parks department into one location. We can have different entrance and exit ways to the Duke Park as we expand it. So there's some real, I guess,
A lot of room to grow.
yeah,
out
a lot
there.
of room to grow. We might as well use the beautiful park. It's a diverse park. It has so many different activities now. Why not enhance it and make it that beautiful park that it can become, and already is. It already is.
A friend of mine, when they got married, they had their wedding pictures taken out at the gazebo next to the pond.
See? And that's a beautiful entranceway
Mm-hmm.
with the pond and the fountain and everything. And having Mr. Duke there greeting you as you go in, and the playground, and that's the area we'll be trying to develop for, like maybe a splash pad in that area. On the north and south sides, we're going to go soccer and be looking at baseball. Those are enhancements for the future. So it is an idea, it is an initiative. It needs the support and to make it happen. But it's moving forward, at least with the subcommittee of council, to full council, and the support of the rec board and the recreation board. And we've also heard from a number of organizations who would be directly affected in a positive way and saying we're behind this as well.
Now, you say that you're in your last 6 months. I say this is going to be a busy 6 months for you.
It will. This is a time when I'm starting to reflect not only on the past but look to the present, and I'm working closely with our mayor-elect Robin Oda. We're having some transitional meetings, and she's the one that's got to get behind this as well, and she has. She sees the value as well. So we'll see. Nothing's going to happen unless we can get the support of our organizations, and ultimately our biggest stakeholders are our citizens who will have to vote for a sunset 10-year levy for a little over $1 million.
Troy's a very good-sized, family-based community. So I would really hope that the community would get behind this and support this and see these good things happen over at Duke Park.
Well, thank you, Clint, for bringing that up and allowing me to share a little bit about my views on it. And again, we'll see how it progresses. I'm a big school person. I know schools have issues. We all do. But it's our community to look at and invest in for the betterment. Again, even if in education, it's for the young people to have the best possible education and the facilities available. Same thing for recreation. The same thing for culture. And I'm going to close a little bit, Clint. I always do. You always ask me, so what's new and different, what's coming down the pike, and culture's also been a big priority of mine in my tenure.
You just look at the calendar of events for Prouty Plaza and Treasure Island and what is going on in the community of Troy. And culture's huge.
And Hainer Cultural Center is a
Absolutely.
great icon. We have treasures all around Troy that we should, those of us who live in here should really respect and look at it as a privilege to live in Troy. People from the outside always talk, you and I have talked about this, they always comment about the beauty of our downtown, the beauty of our community, the activities that they're available to us. And I got to put a plug in, because I know Bill McIntosh does a segment on your radio station.
Oh, we're headed down to Treasure Island to the amphitheater. I have a feeling.
Absolutely. I got to say that, Again, I'm going to say, yes, we've had rain, we've had floods, but, we built that park so that it recedes back into its natural river, Great Miami River, which still allows us to have the shelter houses, the amphitheaters, the boathouse restaurant, and so many different amenities, including a restroom that's available, and all the amenities with kayaks, canoes.
And it's flooded several times, quite a few times down there, and everything is still there.
If you just look at the 4th of July and all the people that came down for that concert, and the view of the fireworks from down there, I understand, I get estimates, thousands of people came down.
Almost packed.
And so it's a valuable treasure at that area. But I want to also say it's the home of the Troy Civic Band.
Yep.
And I got to put a plug in, and I say this all the time. The McIntoshes started this civic band, and are a group of local regional professionals that come together, practice hard, and put on one whale of a concert. And if you're moved by music, you'll be moved by the melody, and that's the title, by the way, of this Sunday's 7:30 concert at the amphitheater of the Troy Civic Band. I encourage everybody, if you've never heard the Troy Civic Band, give it a shot. I think you'll be very impressed, first of all, with the acoustics that are there
They're
in the
wonderful.
amphitheater. But we're going to start that concert at 7:30, a little, so the sun goes down over the levee a little more and allows the performers not to squint and have sunglasses. But I got to say, that's happening this Sunday, 7:30, Treasure Island Amphitheater. And again, please support that civic band. They're locals, and you'll see a lot of familiar faces there. And I, for one, have always been a big supporter of them, and that's the home of the Troy Civic Band.
Well, you think of some of the other cultural events that go on throughout the summer. We've got the concerts on Crowdy on
Yes.
Friday night, the Lucky Lemonade concerts that they have over at the Troy Hayter Cultural Center. That's just to name a few, plus the events that get added in down at Treasure Island. It won't be long. We've got Tour to Donut coming to town. We also have Be the Match, which will be down at Treasure Island again this year. And our over on the levee, our festival that wraps up the summer is the Festival of Nations.
Festival of Nations. We just have so many different opportunities for people of all ages again to come down, not only for recreation in Troy, but for culture in Troy. And I'm just proud to at least be a small part of that cheerleading for those activities and the 19th. You mentioned Proudy Plaza, July 19th we have a concert. That's on, I believe, a Friday night at 7:30.
Mm-hmm.
So hits just keep on coming.
Well, there's something to be said for communities that do provide the entertainment and the culture and the different things to do. It's a draw that brings people that want to live in the community. And when businesses see that, it brings in businesses as well that want to be part of the community.
Boy, you couldn't say it any better. It's partnerships that make Troy special. I've said that over and over again, but I really believe that. It's the volunteers, people who give of their time and talent to make this community a great place to come and live and work and play and just enjoy the camaraderie and the ambiance that it presents. So I will say that there's a lot of groups, Troy Main Street, Troy Chamber, City of Troy, and all the departments in the City of Troy coming together, and the different committees that all work together to provide all these activities that we can all enjoy.
And it's all people that absolutely care about this community.
Clint, and I gotta say, Troy Community, I say this all the time, and I mean it. Troy Community Radio is a great promoter of those activities. David DeNoyer, you'll see him out and about everywhere showcasing what we're going to offer. You on the radio airways, Bill McIntosh, and so many people that just help to make this a great place. And thank you, Troy Community Radio, for what you do.
I love watching out the windows and seeing everything take place in downtown Troy. And you literally, if you sit up here for a day, you can see how much activity our downtown has.
Now I got to ask you, how's our studio coming along?
The studio is coming right along. With any luck, we'll get the desk done and hopefully start moving back in next week.
Because we're in a little closet
Yeah,
here doing this
we're
radio
still in
show.
here.
But I know, again, Clint, you're working very hard to get that up and running, and when we do, that'll be first class.
It absolutely will be first class. As first class as I can make it. As long as I can still kick off my shoes. And Lori will say the same thing.
There you go.
All right, council.
Ah.
Next council coming up.
That the council will be coming up Monday. It doesn't seem possible. We're in July already.
I know.
It'll be the second meeting of council in July. It'll be on the 15th, 7 o'clock, in the council chambers. And there'll be a lot of things to discuss. Probably the move by the recommendation of the Parks and Recreation Committee will be on the docket to discuss, because we have a timeline that we have to work with to get something on the ballot in November.
All right. And hope to see all that moving forward.
Thank you, Clint.
Thank you, Mayor. Anything else you'd like to add this morning?
Nope, I think we've said enough.
All right. This has been the Mayor's Report with Mayor Michael Beamish. I'm Clint Myers on 107.1 WTJN.